Hi folks, Russ Jones here for Brock International, and I'm excited to show you a project today that I get a lot of questions about across the United States, and that is, can you use stone on top of Brock? Well, today's project is going to be a project where we're actually going to install a 200 square foot walkway on top of Brock with sand. It's going to be a great project. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, and you just wait and see the results. It's very easy to do. Brock is a great base replacement. It's lightweight, and it's absolutely a project that you should attempt on your own. One of the questions that I get asked is what type of tools and what type of materials are needed for this project. Well, this project's pretty simple. We're going to have Brock Paver Base. You're going to need a pick, a shovel. I'm going to use gator dust, which is what you see right here. This is going to go in between my stone. I've purchased a pallet of stone from my local stone yard. You need a good pair of gloves so you don't get blisters, a tape measure. You're going to need a 2x4, which is what I'm going to use to screed the sand, and we'll talk about that. I particularly like a number 2 scoop or a square nose shovel. It's very, very effective for setting grade. And then of course river sand. Now for this project, because I have 200 feet, I'm using river sand, and I bought it bulk. This is 1 ton. 1 ton should easily cover the 200 square feet that we're going to have on this project. But you could also use playground sand. It's not necessary to buy bulk material. I bought it because I'm going to use the whole bit and I had a place to store it. If you were in a situation where you don't have a lot of room, bagged playground sand works just right. First step, remove the boulders or the step stones that you see here. We're going to remove this, and then I'm going to show you how to get the base done properly, put down the Brock, we're going to put down the sand, and I'm going to show you exactly how easy these first few steps are. Okay, so we have excavated the existing soil, and now we're putting a really thin layer of fine sand down to kind of give us a really good flat base before we put the Brock down. Now we're going to put sand on top of the Brock to level our stone. But when I talk about fine sand, what I'm talking about is a material that's fine. You could use an M10 sand. This just happens to be what was underneath ours. As you can see, it's a very fine sand, screeds very nicely, and we'll make a nice bed before we put down our Brock. We're now ready to put down some river sand. In our case, we used a bulk material. This river sand is going to be used underneath the Brock in about a ½ an inch, no more, and the only reason we're putting it down is to try to give us the closest thing to a flat bed. So you could use bagged sand, you could use river sand. I used bulk material here just because I had the room to do it. Now I'm going to take a 2x4, we're going to kind of screed it, and again I've got ½ an inch maybe. So we're not trying to get it perfect, we're just trying to give us a pretty good base to put our Brock on. Okay, we put a sand bed down, and now we're actually laying the Brock. And one thing I want you to notice is that I've changed directions a couple of times with the Brock to fit the application. Now I'll come back and I'll cut some pieces to fit these little gaps here. But I'm not trying to be perfect like I would if I was laying pavers, because if you recall, I'm going to put sand over this. I'm going to be using a natural flagstone, which is going to have different thicknesses, so I'm going to have a few variations in my sand depth. What I really want to do is try to get it as close to perfect as possible, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to make precision cuts. Now, if I was working with pavers, I would be making more precision cuts because I'd want Brock to be underneath every single piece of my paver. But because I'm using 2½ inch thick flagstone, very, very sturdy flagstone, some of these little gaps that I'll actually cut pieces, and there's a piece right there that I'll be cutting to put into this little spot right here. Some of those little places will be more than strengthened by the thickness of the stone. We're going to be using a polymeric sand, which I'll show you. So don't get caught up on trying to make it perfect unless you're doing pavers. Pavers, you're going to need to put down Brock everywhere, but you can see how we're using a 2x4 to just kind of screed it flat. We're just trying to give ourselves the very best base for smoothness and flatness as possible. And a 2x4 is a very cheap way to do that. It works perfect. And again, Brock will take care of nearly all the work that we're going to need to do for holding the base in place. One of the #1 questions I get asked is, how do you cut Brock? You do it just like this. Watch this. and then you just break it, and there you go. Perfect piece of Brock. Again, I'm going to be putting an edge restraint on the edges. Not trying to make it absolutely perfect, but very, very easy to cut. Very, very easy to get exactly where you want to do it. Cut another piece there. Very, very easy. One slice, and then just simply break Brock, and there you go. The technique to doing sand and leveling sand is pretty simple. We're just using an 18-inch level, and you see that the mason's simply just spreading it flat and trying to get a really good flat base. We know the stone's going to be different thickness, and you'll tap that in with a hammer and wood, but very, very simple, and a little more effective than just using your hands. Although a 4-foot level is often used on a project of this size where you're really only dealing with 5-foot, 6-foot spans, 3-foot spans, 18-inch level of any kind works. But as you can see, it's very quick, very easy, and the stone goes down perfectly. The manufacturer of the polymeric sand will let you, they'll let you go up to 4 inches on the joints. We're actually doing joints that are a little bit tighter than that on this project. Our joints here are 1.5 to 2 inches, and you can see the importance of the 2x4. Just simply tap it down. You could use a rubber mallet. We're using a stone hammer. It's no big deal. Any type of hammer will work. Don't put the metal on the stone or you'll scar your stone or break it. So you want to use a mallet, a rubber mallet, or you want to use, as you see in the mason do here, just use the back of the hammer. But it doesn't have to be perfect. But the joints are all nice. You can see we're using, these joints are right at 2 inches. This one here is 1.5 to 2 inches. That makes a beautiful patio, and the tighter the joints, the more professional the outcome. Okay, so we're at the end of the project. We have already put our polymeric sand in between the joints, and this is what a Brock stone patio looks like. We got some planning to do, and on our project today, what we ended up doing was we decided to add a little stone curbing to this project just to give it a little touch of class. Something you can do very easy. I did not set this in mortar. These stones have actually been set in a little bit of sand with a hammer. So this is how easy it is to use Brock, and if you're in Georgia, I want you to call my good friends at Alliance Stone. Otherwise, I want you to go to brockpaverbase.com. Look us up. We'll be glad to try to get product to you as fast as we can. Always remember, Brock Paver Base produces the perfect patio every time.